Batman Hush is yet another film in the DC animated universe. It's kind of funny because the DC animated universe is sort of becoming the MCU to me in terms of I can't remember how many films exist in this universe on a year-to-year basis. Pretty sure this is the 13th or 14th official film in the DC animated universe and like the 35th overall in terms of all the DC animated movies, but I can't be 100% sure on that anymore. Like with Marvel's come up with so many movies and so much content, I can't remember how many movies exist in the universe. I'm pretty sure it's 45 though. I'm like 95% sure that there are at least 45 movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but don't quote me on that. This film is directed by Justin Carleone, Culliver. I can't remember his last name. It starts with a C. It features the return of some voice talents like Jason O'Mara, who has played Batman before, Jerry O'Connell, who has played Superman. You should recognize most of the voices in this movie. This movie is a direct adaptation, or at least it sets itself up as a direct adaptation of Batman Hush. If you haven't read Batman Hush, please go read it because it's one of the best Batman stories ever made. This movie, the only thing I will suffice it to tell you is that Bruce Wayne and Batman find their personal and professional lives torn apart when a mysterious enemy starts, trying to tear it apart. And somebody has figured out who he is, somebody is trying to make his life a living hell, and it's really making things tough for Bruce. And so he has to try to figure out who this person is and why they're orchestrating the events that they're orchestrating to try to tear him down. DC animated movies usually try to keep consistent animation since they all exist in the same universe. It makes sense. So if you like the animated style from some of the other movies, you're gonna like it in here. The fluidity of motion is still good here. The details are just as present as they ever were in any of the other animated films. It's the same thing with the voice talent in here. Jason O'Mara, he's been a good Batman for a while. He's really good in this movie. A lot of the other voice talent does a pretty good job at selling the emotion behind the performances, doing a good job at nailing the delivery. Sometimes when it comes to voice talent and voice acting, it's all about how you deliver your lines. It's all about how it carries through on screen. You want people to believe that you are that character. You want people to believe that character could be real. I think Rainn Wilson is still voicing Lex Luthor, and I'm still not the biggest fan of that, but I worked with it in this movie because he doesn't have a very big role, so bygones, I get it. Some pretty good moments in here involving some characters that are put in this story like Scarecrow and Harley Quinn. I love some of the moments involved with them. This movie features a lot of Batman and Catwoman having sex and getting it on and, doing that Bat-Cat ship that everybody loves so much. You love seeing Batman and you love seeing Catwoman and you love seeing them together. Well, this movie's gonna give you a lot of what you want because a large portion of this movie is dedicated to that romance, and how invested you are in that ship, it kind of depends on whether this movie is going to sink or swim for you. So in terms of all the basics, like the animation, the action sequences, the voice talent, some iconic scenes that actually are pretty well done, and then you look at the romance between Batman and Catwoman, well, a lot of that is well done. And in terms of all those basics, this movie nails it. In terms of literally everything else involving Batman Hush, this movie is an epic fail. An epic fail. This movie absolutely positively butchered the storyline of Batman Hush. I say that as a huge Batman fan and a huge fan of that storyline. They took a samurai sword and a couple of katanas and maybe the dagger that Peter Pan has and maybe a couple surgical knives. They just gutted this thing like a fish. They just cut it open, they left it hanging open, and then the guts are hanging out and then the insides are on the outside. You can't really tell where the body ends and where death begins, and it's just one of those deals. And if that's too vivid a picture for you, I'm sorry, but that's how I felt after watching this movie. I'm all for artistic creativity and all for making changes to adaptations. Obviously, you got to give these artists a little bit of leeway to tell their own story. At the same time, you kind of want them to keep the spirit and the essence of the source material in mind when they're making these things. You hope that the changes they make aren't too drastic, aren't too radical, and at least don't alter the story or maybe degrade it in any way. Hoping that whatever changes they make, it serves the story and it serves the characters better. And there are some changes in here that work. There's a lot of them that don't, though. There are a lot of characters that are shoehorned in this thing that weren't in the original Batman Hush comic, and it does a disservice to some of these characters. Likewise, there are some characters that are taken out of this story that were in the original Batman Hush storyline, and it's kind of weird to not have them there. But you know what? All of that stuff, aesthetically, how some things look different and some characters are here versus not being here and all that, like, I could forgive all of that, but there is a twist and a reveal towards the third act of this movie, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It destroyed the entire movie for me. At the point that this twist happened, I no longer cared about anything that was going on in this movie. Like, I was done. I was over it. It was just done for me. It destroyed the movie because it completely ruined what the purpose of the original comic was. Everything that was special and intriguing and emotional about that comic, it's just gone here in service of a twist that does not work as presently constituted on screen. By the end of this movie, I was actually sitting there like, okay, why did they even call this movie Hush? Did they call it Hush just because they were like, it was a euphemism for shh, be quiet, don't talk about this movie? Because that's how embarrassed we are of it as an adaptation? Is that what they meant? I'm going to assume that was a little bit a part of the equation, because holy shit, I feel like hushing up about this movie for the rest of the year. Characters make decisions sometimes that are out of character. Okay, fine, that's a nitpick, you can get over that. Some characters are put in and some characters are pulled out and some changes are made to the story that doesn't really work. Okay, you can live with that. The fact that this movie took the essence and spirit of Batman Hush and it just completely fist-fucked it into artistic oblivion. I'm not gonna shit all over it because, again, it's a decent watch and there are some good things to like about it, but holy fuck, am I gonna be bitching about this one. Batman Hush fails as an adaptation on almost every level, and it belongs in the Kryptonite section of this show. Go see it, tell me what you think about it in the comment section below. Like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.